Oh, shoot, we can keep it real personal today. Hi.
Good morning, everybody.
You want me to make a statement still? All right, great challenge this week. Going to Boston College on the road. They're playing very, very well. Different football team than we saw last year. I think Coach Hafley's done an excellent job of stocking his team with talent. It's a Power 5 team in the ACC. I think bringing in Rob Chazinski to work with their offense has paid dividends. They're just very multiple. They've got a quarterback who's an outstanding runner, and they utilize that. They've got a great running game in particular. So it's just a huge challenge for us. And I think that, once again, our guys will rise up. I liked a lot of things that I saw looking at the tape on Saturday. It's probably as hard as we've played and as physical as we've played in a long time. I see, massive amounts of improvement. Unfortunately, it's not showing up on the scoreboard, and that's what's disappointing. So we're just going to keep hammering away and keep trying to get better and try to measure ourselves this week against a Power 5 team that's 4-3 and in the ACC against, little old independent UConn. So that's kind of the mindset.
They've got a quarterback that you talked about that runs very well, and that has been a challenge for you and your defense. Can you talk about that and how you plan to?
Well, it was a challenge earlier in the year. We've done a good job against it lately. So after week 2, we kind of been able to put the brakes on that. But this guy's he's of a different speed, different quickness than anyone we've seen. He leads the FBS in rushing yardage for a quarterback. He's as dynamic as you'll see. You think of guys like Lamar Jackson, and you think of guys like Michael Vick, and when you watch this kid put his foot in the ground and turn it upfield and accelerate and make people miss, he has those traits. Now, he's obviously much younger than they are, right, and not as established, but he's on his way to being that. And I have great respect for him, and he's going to make plays, but we have to do the best we can to limit him to making plays with his feet. And I think we've come a long way since that Georgia State game in terms of taking care of quarterbacks. So, but once again, this is a challenge like one we haven't seen yet this year.
I asked you before the Georgia State game about what makes a good road team, and you talked about mental toughness, resilience, stick to routine, staying focused. Now that you've been around your team for 7 games and you've played a couple road games, do you have what it takes to be this good road team, particularly with 3 in a row coming up?
I think we proved that we have what it takes when we went to Rice, and we were a team that hadn't won a game, went down 14-0, and came back and won. But you have to prove it over and over again. And as you said, we've got a tough road here coming up against really good football teams, starting with Boston College this week. And so, that belief that I have that we do have that will be put to the test, and we'll find out. We'll certainly find out.
Coach, I'm Adam. That's freelancing for the Hartford Current.
Hey, Adam, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
No worries. Over the weekend, Joe, normal Current guy, wrote a story about how 3 plays that kind of have changed UConn's season, and you guys could be 4-3 if these things had gone your way. Is it really that simple?
I didn't read the article, and I do have a lot of respect for what Joe says. So I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say no. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can find 3 plays and go, God, if only. But there's so many of those in every game, So yeah, it's a yes and it's a no. Yeah. You can point your finger to 3 particular plays had they happened, but how do we get ourselves in that situation? So that's a big deal. So I don't really ever look at it that way, because I think it's not healthy for me to look at it that way. So I think it's important as a coach that you look at everything that's happening, and of course, you can focus on those particular plays, but you have to focus on every play. So yeah, I would say yeah, and I'd say, but no, we got other things that we got to handle too. I don't. No, you asked about Victor's going to do everything he can to be ready to play. I mean, he wasn't out at practice today because he's been living in the training room. I mean, morning, noon, and night, he's making Bob Howard sleep here, basically. I'm exaggerating, but I mean, he's committed to doing all he can to play. I think he's made a lot of improvement. He's a lot better today than he was yesterday. he tried to go back in the game. We taped him up, put him in. You could tell on that first carry that he wasn't right, and it's just not fair, in my opinion, to put a ball carrier especially out there that can't really defend themselves. It's not fair.
How's Joe doing a month past his surgery?
Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing well. He and Alex Honig both, they're kind of bonded together, and they're out for the year, but they're really working hard, and I think Joe's coming along. It's hard to tell because it's a shoulder and he can't really throw. With Alex, you can see him walk, you can see his gait change and improve every day. Joe's still kind of immobile, but the great thing about Joe and Alex and Jarvis is that they just have a great attitude about things. They're not moping around.
Can you talk about the running back room and the depth at that position has been challenged in a variety of ways this season?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's really been challenged. Have two guys that quit and left their teammates hanging has really affected us. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that happened. I would not have expected those two young men to do that to their team, but they did. And that's their choice, and so we have to go on. And so that put, the onus on Victor, certainly, and it allowed Cam to kind of step up, and we've seen what Cam's become. I mean, you say this in a positive way. He's a dog, DAWG. I mean, he's got that, and so we've always known Victor had that. But you need more than one for sure, and really I think you need more than two. This day and age in college football with the number of plays that you're running, and especially the way we like to run the ball. So, Jalen Mitchell was getting some carries. We'll see. Hopefully Victor can play, but if not, I mean, it's really stressed out that room. And, I don't think Nick's caught a break, Nick Charlton, in 2 years in terms of just, the injuries that he's had to plan around. And he's having to do it again this week, and he'll do all he can to make sure that, we're able to move the ball.
On Jalen Mitchell, he obviously had some fumble issues earlier in the season.
Yeah.
How has he responded to that? Obviously, he's going to probably see some more opportunities as we go forward. How's he responded?
Well, he is going to see more opportunities. He's responded well. He's taken it seriously, and you've got to be able to hold on to the football. You can't give the football up when you're a running back. I mean, that's the number one thing is that, take care of the football, ball security. I've been pleased with the way he's approached it. You see an added emphasis in practice with him in terms of just, the 5 points of pressure and contact. And I know it's very, very important to him. And so he's going to get his chances. And I believe that he'll respond. I do.
I looked at the future schedules and I didn't see Boston College on them, which was a little surprising to me. Are you disappointed by that? Because just from the outside, it seems this would be a no-brainer. It's a nice, easy game. It's a nice, easy prep, particularly when you play early in the season. Is it something you would want to do? And what can you do?
Well, I hadn't given it any thought until you asked the question. The future, a lot of the future schedules were decided, years ago because they're set up, and then they're adjusted certainly. But I think any time that we can create regional, rivalries, it's a good thing, or regional matchups, because they might not consider it a rivalry. So I don't want to put words in their mouth. But being an independent, it's hard for us to have repetitive games year after year with opponents where you can kind of build up not a hatred, but I guess the only word you can use, that kind of that rivalry feel, And so, yeah, I like playing the teams up here in the Northeast, whether it's Syracuse or it's Boston College or it's anybody else. So, but a lot of those decisions are made based upon what they're allowed to do as well. But yeah, I'd love to play BC every year, not because it's easy, but because it's hard and because I think it'd be good for our program.
Coach, going back to my first question, you have so much football experience in coaching, so it might be easy for you to kind of look past things and, look at the game as a whole. How do you get your players to do that, these young men that don't have that experience with the whole game, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a constant, it's a consistency of message, day in and day out, week in and week out throughout the season. It's trying to show them particular things on film that'll help them learn and grow as players, you know, whether it's from the NFL or other teams. We use a lot of NFL film because they all aspire to play at that level. So teaching them, you know, through visuals what it looks like to be great, you know, what the greatest do, how they play. And then just every day asking them to come in here and recommit and refocus. And I think our guys, they do that, you know, and everyone's at a little different level. But it's about teaching them a whole lot of things, you know, football, life, overcoming adversity, handling success, all of those things. So it's just a constant message every single day to them about, you know, how to do it right and showing them what it looks like and being a good example as a coach. It's those things.
You talked a little about independent schedule. During training camp, there was a lot of optimism that our conference was potentially coming. Do you think that impacted morale with any of the guys at all? Did you have to address it with the team as the season started with it?
Yes, I absolutely think it affected the morale. Absolutely. But that's no excuse for, you know, not having more success. But it affected all of us. It affected me. I'll tell you, it affected David Benedict. I mean, that man worked, you know, morning, noon, and night, and into the night to try to make this happen. And it affected every single player because there was this momentum towards being in a Power 5, which is going to change everything around here. Everything. Recruiting, you know, the profile of the program, you know, the ability to compete for a championship, the ability to create rivalries, you know, the stage we were going to play on. And so to think that you know, you can just shrug that off when you were so close. I mean, we were so close. Yeah, I know it affected us greatly. It affected every coach, every staff member. Everyone was, you know, ready to go. But that's life, right? I mean, you know, that's life. I mean, you get close and sometimes it doesn't work out, and you have to regroup, and you gotta suck it up, and you gotta, you know, look forward and keep fighting. And so, yeah, there was definitely an effect.
There's still a lot of football to play this season.
Mm-hmm.
Does the start to the season and the record change the approach that maybe you go more towards evaluation of what you have heading into next season or not yet?
God, that's like $1 million question, right? It is. It's I think that if you're doing it the right way, you're always trying to find young players that you can get play time so they can develop. You know, like if you look at our secondary, we've made a consistent effort to play Lee Millette and Isaiah more and more, and now they're really starting to show up. And we're always looking for guys that if they get time, they can elevate, you know, the performance of the team. I have never been a guy that said, hey, okay, well, you know, we're not going to the bowl, we're not going to the playoffs, let's just start playing a bunch of young guys. I just think that that's a failure of leadership and a failure of your obligation to the seniors, the older players. So there's a balance in there. You know, I think you should always be looking to get guys in the game that you think have talent, and if they play in a game, they're going to ascend. Bill Walsh always talked about that. Bill Walsh would come in and he'd say, all right, let's talk about player X and let's talk about the starter, okay? And here's the starter's level of performance. It's really flat. And player X is fresh, this rookie, he's down here, all right? And so we know week one, this guy's going to play at this level, and the rookie's probably going to play at this level. But if in 3 weeks, you play this guy for 3 weeks, he ascends past the level of your veteran, put him in the game and play him. Put him in the game and play him. We drafted a kid, Andre Carter, with the 9th pick once, and I was the defensive coordinator, and it was the first mini camp, and I had Andre with the second team, you know, and Bill comes in into my office, he goes, hey, Jim, he goes, what do you got Andre with the second team for? And I said, well, I'm trying to make him, you know, earn that spot. He goes, Jim, we drafted him with the 9th pick, he earned it, you know. He said, put him in there. And he goes, and put him in there now. I mean, it wasn't not demanding, it was a conversation. He said a couple of reasons. Number one, you know, his growth will accelerate if he's around better players. They'll get used to him being in the huddle with him, on the field with him, and the backup will have a chance to come to grips with the fact, or the guy that was the starter will come to grips with the fact that he's the backup now. You know, so I've always kind of ascribed to that since Bill told me, because who am I to argue with Bill Walsh, right? All right. Thank you all for coming.
You talked
Go ahead.
about Chris Shearin's recent play. His last 3
Yeah.
games, his numbers have been pretty good. He's got 2 interceptions. What's he doing better now this year? And is he giving you some leadership there in the defensive backfield?
Yeah, Chris is a valuable player for us because he can play multiple positions and play them well. I think he's playing with a lot of confidence because he's settled into the scheme and his role. Last year we asked him to do, I mean, he can do a lot, but last year we asked him to do maybe a little too much. You know, this year we're letting him play nickel and some safety, you know, backup safety. He's a really good nickel. He understands how to play those inside zones. He understands how to fit in the run like a linebacker would on some of the stuff that he has to do. He's incredibly serious about his preparation. I mean, he's a guy that can never get enough film. He can't get enough practice. He gets extra work in. He asks a million questions. He never has a play in practice that he takes off. He's always intensely focused, and it's paying off for him. We good? All right, thanks, everybody.